Hello everybody, I hope you're all well today. I am here today to talk to Jane Blackwell. Hello Jane, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Helen, how are you?
Good, I'm fine, thank you. It's absolutely lovely to meet you. Jane is a franchisee of McDonald's based in South Wales, and we're just going to have a conversation today about women in business, really, Jane, and particularly you and your business. So just tell me a bit about you and your journey into franchising.
Okay, it's a bit of a journey. I'm married. I've got 3 children. Well, I say 3 children. My eldest is 23, 21, and then 13. So a bit of a spread there. So I started my career then. If we go back to when I started my career at 21, I was a police officer for South Wales Police. So completely different to what I do now. Again, I didn't grow up with the ambition of being a police officer. It just kind of fell into my lap, so to speak. It suited me as a personality and what I was studying at the time. So I joined South Wales Police, and I did that role for 9 years up until I was 30 years old. Absolutely loved it. I'll be honest with you. It kind of molded me into the person that I am today. I was in my 20s, so I kind of went in as this naive 21-year-old and came out as a very strong woman at the end of it. It was an excellent career. I made loads of lifelong friends, which still got today. So in terms of what I was taught during that period, I think it's molded me into the person that I am today. I've always been interested in business. My husband had a business, and I've always had the interest in wanting to own and operate my own business. And at that time, I had 2 young children. So probably like many other women, I was kind of thinking, how am I going to juggle this with my ambition of owning a business? So I was looking at something that was local to me, that was on a smaller scale, because bearing in mind, this would be my first business. So I was a complete novice. So I looked at post offices in local communities. The reason being is generally the homes are within the business. So I thought the work-life balance of having children at home, I had rose-tinted glasses of nipping in and out and, looking after the kids. It didn't go that way.
It never does.
But we bought this post office. My husband still had his own business. So I kind of like took this task on. I had my two little ones at the time. And I opened it was already established post office in a small valleys in the Welsh valleys. And it was a steep learning curve. Let me just tell you that it was fast paced. I had to learn very fast about having employees, financial consequences, VAT, just generally running a business and all it entails. So it was no longer a clocking off. It was, you didn't clock off, so to speak.
24/7.
It was ongoing. It was tough. I loved it, absolutely loved it, but it was a bit of a shock to me. Even though my husband had owned a business, I still, I think that as a person, you'll kind of put what you put into it, you'll get out, sort of thing. And I'm very, when I go for something, I go for something, and that was it. And I put all my energy into it. So I had the post office, did really well, integrated within the community, built up what was a very small post office at that time. I added another element, a shop element to it as well. Gained confidence, I think, more than anything, in realizing that this was something that I could do, as opposed to something that initially wrapped in a headlight type situation. So I took on this post office, and I really made it an integral part of the community. It was great, actually. Absolutely loved it. It was in my element. And having the children on site, it was nice. But I think that, ultimately it is business, and it was quite hard, really. And then I was looking for a different challenge, Helen. So I thought, what can I do now?
It wasn't enough for you anymore, Jane.
No, it wasn't, shockingly. So I was looking for franchising in particular, because the post office is a franchising model. So I was confident with what the supports and network that brought to business, and I certainly had bought into the franchising concept. So at that time, we were in a bit of a recession, and I specifically looked at food industry, because food was doing well within the recession, if people are going to spend money, it was going to be on treats such as food, and that would be where the luxury would go on. So my thought process was, if I was to stick to a food franchise, I did lots of research and due diligence, going to exhibitions such as this one, and talking to various people and internet, etc. And I kept coming back to McDonald's. And
Right.
when you've got children, you gravitate towards the brands that you trust and you know.
Absolutely,
And
I agree. Yeah.
McDonald's it was a brand that I trusted, I knew.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it, and I applied to become a McDonald's franchisee.
Fantastic. So what was that process like for you? I mean, because I know that, you know, it's quite a long process, isn't it? The recruitment process for McDonald's. So how was that process for you going through that?
When I first applied, I'll be honest with you, I thought myself, I'm out of depth here. They're not going to be looking at a Welsh Valleys lady who's at a post office. So I applied, and I suppose my expectations were low, but I was like, I put my application in.
Yeah.
I got a call basically to go to head office in East Finchley, and my first interview with a guy called Joe Sabinte. And the process, yes, you're right, it is a lengthy process. It certainly was when I was doing it, and there wasn't many applying at that point, which is back 10 years ago. So there was a massive intake at that time. So I suppose it could take a little bit longer. And it was a process of interviews, going to exhibitions, speaking to franchisees, gaining an understanding with the brand. I always kind of relate it to like a courtship.
Yeah.
So we kind of building up a relationship between each other that they know me, I know them.
Yeah.
And we kind of met in the middle, and were our values the same? Did we stand for the same thing?
Yeah.
Was this the right journey for me? Because this was ultimately my last journey. Wasn't something I was going to buy into and then disappear.
Yeah.
So ultimately,
you're in it for the long haul.
Absolutely. Ultimately, I wanted this would be my final journey, so it had to be right. So all at the time, with my personality, it was quite frustrating. Actually, the journey was good, because at any point I could have stepped out and said, you know what, this isn't for me. But I didn't, and I stuck it out. And then I did the 9-month training full time.
Yes, I know. Yes,
in a restaurant. But again, honestly, I think that having that element of McDonald's franchising model is crucial. It really
I can imagine because you get it, you understand everything then, don't you? Literally from the ground up.
From the ground up. And it was met some fantastic people. I understood the business better. And the problem, with McDonald's is fast paced.
Of course.
Restaurants. And it's 24/7 generally. So it doesn't stop. So you are constantly, I couldn't go in, okay, every stop, let Jane settle in. It doesn't work like that. I was buying an existing restaurant that as an established team, I had to be able to go in and know what I was talking about. So
it's that classic, isn't it? Hit the ground running, Jane, and you really did sort of like jump in, didn't you? And off you went. Well, that's incredible. So tell me about your business today then, because how long ago was it that you joined McDonald's?
So application went in at 2011, so 10 years ago. So I started my training 9 years ago, and I took my first restaurant on in June 2013.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you still own that restaurant today?
Well, it was a bit what a story for everything.
So
I relocated with my McDonald's. I was obviously born and bred in South Wales, and I relocated to Banbury, which is like the middle of England.
Yes,
so it's a massive move for me and my family. So we all relocated, and I bought the restaurant in Banbury. It was a town centre high street store. Again, absolutely loved it. Brilliant business, brilliant people, and I just fitted right in. My personality completely fitted in. I haven't got a corporate background, but what I was able to give was real life and understanding and working with people that I could relate to, no problem at all. So and obviously having a bit of my business background, it really did help. So I bought the Banbury restaurant. After 5 years, I was approached by McDonald's about relocating back to South Wales.
Right.
So I did have 2 restaurants in Banbury. I bought a drive-through.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
But I took the decision to relocate back to South Wales. There was better opportunities from a growth perspective. So being able to own multi-sites was definitely, I certainly, my ambition from the very start was to have multiple sites. And McDonald's model, certainly it does cater for that. And I was ready to kick on and move on with that option. So I moved back to South Wales, and I bought 3 restaurants. So I sold the Banbury ones and I went back to South Wales and I bought 3 restaurants in South Wales in 2017.
Wow. So you've come home. So sort of full circle, really.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's an amazing story. Absolutely amazing story. So along the way, Jane, have there been sort of strong women in your life, or women that you've come across that have sort of influenced you in your decisions?
Honestly, Helen, I was thinking about this the other day, because there's a lot going on with women in business, and I do a lot within the organization and trying to understand that. I've always been, there's not been like an inspirational woman in my life. I've always when I've watched films, I've always gravitated towards the heroine. So,
Yes.
so the strong women in films, and kind of, I make come watch this. We if there's a powerful woman, I was attracted to that kind of strength. I just think that I was just absolutely determined, regardless. I think it was in spite of me being a woman. I was so determined to do well that I never believed anything other than that. I just wanted to be better. And I think coming from the Welsh Valleys, I really, really determined that I wanted to be better. So I just.
Do you think the police force had anything to do with that? I mean, because we associate the police force as being quite sort of male heavy, if you like. But do you think the fact that you joined the police at such a young age, and you loved it and embraced everything that was, you come across the sort of person that does throw yourself into anything that you're doing? So do you think maybe the police force, did it give you that sort of like, do you know what, I'm here and I'm gonna announce my arrival, and here I am to succeed?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the police women generally are very strong characters. We deal with a lot of incidents that many people wouldn't have to deal with, and I think that, throughout my 20s, I probably encountered incidents that many people won't have to in their lifetime, and thankfully. But it gives you an inner strength to be able to deal with things. So all of the females that I knew within the police force, very strong women, very strong women. We battled and we held our own ground. But you're right, it is male dominated. Certainly when I joined, it was male dominated. There wasn't many females, and I suppose you had to it did appear that you had to fight harder to be seen and get pushed on. But then I've got friends that have progressed in the police force. So that's probably where it comes from a lot, that I was surrounded by strong women throughout in my early career, and all of them had an ambition to do well. They had to, for the nature of the job, really.
Fantastic. It's a great story, Jane. So if you were giving any words of wisdom to women all over who might be thinking of, they've moved they've had a career and they're thinking, do you know what, now is the time I want to work for myself, whether that's, starting their own business or whether that is through franchising, what would be, your words of wisdom to somebody, a woman who's thinking, this is what I want to do?
I think that if you have got any interest whatsoever in business or whatever that might be, you've just literally got to go for it. And I don't think that you should be held back by anything. I've got 577 staff, and the women I speak to them, and I say that nothing should be holding you back. There's no reason for anything to hold you back. If you've got an ambition or a passion to do something, do your research, go out there, and it might be that you do the legwork now and you don't take it on for a little while, but don't let something put you off for fear of lack of skills or knowledge or capability. I kind of went in thinking, I haven't got a corporate background. Why would they look at me? There's no reason that anything should hold you back. And if you've got determination, tenacity, you will succeed. You genuinely will. You've just got to give it your all, and your family will support you. They will, because they want to see that strength in their partner, their mum, or whatever it is. They want to see that, and I think that should be applauded. We should be saying this is wonderful. Yes, there is options for us out there. So go for it. Do the research. Speak to people like myself, and just get the real life stories.
Fantastic. Jane, been absolutely brilliant talking to you. Really inspirational story. And it is fantastic to understand, you know, that, like you say, the sort of background that you had and starting in a police force at 21 to where you are now, we've all got those amazing transferable skills. But like you say, if it's that determination and that tenacity, then, you know, who knows? The world is our oyster, as they say. But that's fantastic. Thank you for your time today. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
No problem. Thank you very much, Helen. Lovely to speak to you.
Thank you.